Star Wars and Dungeons and Dragons. It's a wild combination, but it exists in Knights of the Old Republic. With the movie The Mandalorian and Grogu, I thought it would be a good idea to explore a bit of Mandalorian history and running around with some of the best characters in Star Wars. Welcome to Dad Does Game Guides, where we go right into the backlog far, far away to find games worth our limited time. Join me as we boot up Knights of the Old Republic and explore as much of the Old Republic as we can in 15 hours. Developed by BioWare, Knights of the Old Republic released in July of 2003, and on many game ranking lists, it's still considered one of the best Star Wars games to have ever been made. Before we get into the video, I just want to make a quick note. For some reason, when I recorded the footage, it came out in a very weird resolution. So I've had to fix it in post. Because of this, some of the clips might end up having different resolutions or might end up bouncing around the screen slightly, depending on how easy it was for me to recenter it and fix it up. Okay, now that that's out the way, let's get into the game guide.
We're the last two crew members left on the Endar Spire. Basila's escape pod's already gone, so there's no reason for us to stick around here and get shot by the Sith. Now, come on! There'll be time for questions later.
Set 1,000 years before the movies, Knights of the Old Republic explores the Star Wars galaxy in a familiar yet new setting. We start the game as a Republic recruit, we can pick a class, and immediately the pressure is on to escape the Endar Spire that's being attacked by the Sith. After we escape, we end up on a small planet called Taris. What follows can only be described as hijinks, and hijinks ensue. To be honest, Taris is a slog, but we can power through it because the good stuff is about to come. In order to progress, we need to find Bastila and then escape the planet. We can do this with all the fun NPCs and side characters that we meet, which becomes our ragtag party members, join us on many adventures to come. Once we escape, we get to Dantooine, and we can become a Jedi.
Do not accept adults for training, though there are rare exceptions in the history of our order. But you are a special case.
I agree with Master Dorak.
The Jedi task us with unraveling the mystery of the Starforge. So we journey to various planets to find out where the Starforge is located. Every planet we need to complete a few other quests in order to progress the main quest, to find the star map on that planet. All of this we have to do whilst being relentlessly pursued by the Sith. For example, on Tatooine we need to contact the Sand People and either fight them or make peace with them. On Kashyyyk we need to assist the workers and either help fight on the good side or the bad side. Something you might have noticed just from this is that there's a light side and a dark side progression, which we'll also touch on a little bit later. The long and short of it is, choices matter, and depending on those choices, you'll get either light side points or dark side points, which signifies you either become a better Jedi or a better Sith.
Now that the first stage of your training is complete, I am certain they would be eager to have you aid us in our struggle against Darth Malak and the Sith.
The game uses classic Dungeons and Dragons style combat, as well as mechanics. Practically, this means that you have a bunch of skills that you need to invest points into in order to ensure that you'll have success in various tasks. It also means that when you go out into the world, you generally want to make sure that your party members complement your skills, as opposed to having party members with the same skill set. We have attributes, skills, feats, and force powers. Attributes are our main core focuses, like strength, wisdom, and dexterity, as well as a few others. Skills is what this practically means. It's what we specialize in, like computers, persuasion, awareness, treat injury, and a handful of others. Feats is generally what we use to build our character, and is mainly related to combat and how we manage weapons and armors. Force abilities are pretty self-explanatory. There's the classics like force push or throw lightsaber, and even some cool ones like Force Lightning, and many other varieties of that. What this boils down to is that you can customize your character in many weird and wonderful ways, and it's quite epic to do that. This definitely plays into the power fantasy of becoming the type of Jedi or Sith that you want to do. It's with the Force abilities that those light side and dark side points really come into play. Depending on which side you align, those specific powers will either be stronger or weaker. What's really cool is missions end up being quite strategic, because there can be a bit of overlap with some of your party members and even yourself. But like I said earlier, you generally want to pick party members that complement your skills, and you can build the team however you see fit. Pretty much. I find it really cool that these old games can be really respectful of your time, even though some of these built-in functions weren't necessarily built with time consciousness in mind. Things like being able to save your game at any time and log off when your kids have tripped and need a plaster really helps you feel like you aren't missing out on anything or needing to rush to a save point. Knights of the Old Republic can be enjoyed in short bursts, which is really nice because sometimes you only have 20 minutes to play, and instead of having to run around to a save point or wait for a checkpoint, you can stop at any time and then boot up the game when you're ready. That being said, this is still quite a meaty game, and each planet will take 5 to 7 hours to get through, depending on how many side quests you might want to take along the way. And personally, the side quests are, for the most part, pretty fun to do. In total, there's 7 planets that you need to explore to progress the main story, but along the way, there's some adventures, and there's also the final encounter on the final planet too. That means that roughly this game will take anywhere between 35 to 45 hours to complete. The advantage is you can play it in short bursts, and that is quite doable, but it will take you quite a number of days or weeks, depending on how often you play.
Oh, I get it. Let's play with the old man's head, is it? He's half senile. He'll forget I said anything. Wait, what was this about anyway?
If you can power through the Taris levels, then you'll probably enjoy the rest of the game. Taris isn't inherently bad, but the problem is it's drawn out far too long. Everything you need to know about the game can be experienced on this section, but to be honest, you probably want to get through it as quickly as possible and skip as much of the side content in Taris so you can become a Jedi as soon as possible, because that's when the game really takes off, both in its story as well as mechanically. The best characters, in my opinion, also come along later, and that's Jolie Bindo and HK-47. So my personal advice would be to go to Tatooine as your first planet, and then go to Kashyyyk second, or vice versa, because those are the two characters that are really fun to interact with. They have good chemistry with the other party members and yourself, and it's just overall really fun to play with them. There's also no swearing in the game, and it's not inherently violent, so if your kids are watching you play, or if they walk in while you're in the middle of combat, then you don't have to suddenly pause the game and close it, because there's nothing really scary for them or with the character designs. Maybe if they're younger kids it can be slightly intimidating, but overall I'd say it's pretty safe to play. My final bit of advice would be in the skills section, and that's to invest your skill points into Persuade and Treat Injury. Persuade is a skill that really opens up your options to how you can interact with the various NPCs in the world, as well as with your party members and your party members' own side quests. Treat Injury really helps you heal when you need to take med packs or use force heal, and depending on how many skill points you have in that will depend on how many points you recover when you use these items or force skills. The other two I would say would be computer and repair. They really help with also adding some new dynamics to either getting to blow up computers, to fight enemies, or repair droids that can then also assist you in combat. Of those and of all of them, I'd definitely say Persuade and Treat Injury were my favorite, especially compared to something like Demolitions. This was just my experience though, and you can really build the type of character you want to make, which is what makes the game so intriguing to play.
Whatever I think about you, that is you. Why must you be so impossibly infuriating? You know very well what I am really talking about.
Thanks for joining me as we reminisced on Knights of the Old Republic. I really enjoyed playing the game, and I hope if you choose to pick it up that you will too. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Did you play Knights of the Old Republic back in the day? And what advice would you have for anyone that has played the game? Or somebody that's wanting to pick it up? Or somebody who has no idea what Star Wars or Dungeons and Dragons can even look like as a combination? Comment down below. Next time we're going back to the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy with the final game, Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
How impatient can one person be? You must have driven your mother mad. All that gurgling and fussing. Babies are cute, but annoying.